Oh my God, Mama.
I'm crazy and I did it.
You did what?
Julie and I Sam.
She did. She's not a perfect freaking grandma.
Okay, so you're gonna go to jail today.
Was
Money and insanity.
money and insanity. Okay.
On November 15th, 2022, in Eaton, Ohio, 35-year-old Heidi Matheny attacked her 93-year-old grandmother, Alice Matheny, in their home. Heidi confessed that while Alice was doing dishes, she snuck up behind her, pushed her head into the sink, and held it there until she stopped seeing bubbles. Worried that Alice might still be alive, Heidi then put her in a bathtub, filled it with water, and submerged her again for a long time until she was sure Alice was no longer breathing. Shortly after the incident, Heidi went to the sheriff's office, turned herself in, and told the officers she had drowned her grandmother.
So what happened? Oh, thank you. We're kind of...
I just put her head in the sink and held it there. We fought, but I held it there until she quit blowing bubbles, and then I drug her to the couch.
225 East Summers.
Blowing bubbles, so I put her in the
Appears to
bathtub
be
until she
a
stopped.
single residence.
Okay, and this is your grandmother?
Yeah.
And what is her name?
Like, confirm the address. 1204.
Alice?
The officer had to ask more questions to find out why she did it and what led to the attack in the first place.
Did they to lead that to this?
Nothing special. It's just a day like every other day. We went to the doctor yesterday, and the doctor said that we could put her into a nursing home because that's what she wants. But we can't afford that. It's $289 a day. Her insurance won't cover it because she owns a house, but her sons are fighting over it, and it's freaking condemned almost. It's a freaking nightmare. And I'm sick of seeing her. She's stressed out. She has panic attacks every damn day. She shouldn't have to live like that.
Okay.
Correction on address, it's 325.
So,
325.
so you decided to take her life today?
That's what it is.
Wait, are you out?
Okay.
Right along with
And you did it by just drowning her, correct? Okay, so what time did this happen?
Maybe an hour ago, hour and a half ago.
Did you walk up here?
I did.
Okay. We'll try to turn these guys out just a little bit here. Who else lives in that apartment?
Her son lives next door with his girlfriend, and then her kids live in the other apartments.
So who lives in apartment 3? Is that your apartment?
That's just her apartment.
That's her apartment. She owns a house.
And a cat.
And a cat. Okay. And nobody else was present during this?
No.
Okay. So why did you do it? Do you know?
Because she keeps calling me that. She keeps calling me. And she wants me to sit there and listen with her and just every day. And I do it every day. But I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna kill myself. That's where I'm at. I almost went with her, but I can't drown myself.
Eaton police went to the duplex where Heidi and Alice lived and discovered Alice deceased in the bathtub. An autopsy showed she had a fractured sternum, a broken rib, and multiple bruises, suggesting there had been a struggle. After speaking with the officer, Heidi sat down with the detectives to explain what happened that night.
She did. She's not she's a perfect grandma.
Okay. And so she wasn't nagging at you or anything, she just had her back to you doing the dishes, correct? Okay. And where were you standing at?
Right next to her.
Right next to her, to the right or to the left of her?
I think it was to her left.
Okay. And so, how full was the sink?
It was full.
Full?
I filled it up the rest of the way.
Okay. So you put more water in it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so why did you put more water in it?
Because while I was doing it, the thing moved, and then I
so
saw
you
that there was no water, and
to-
then I just filled it up.
Okay, I got you. So, how do you have her? You have her
By the hair.
by the hair?
And then I
Okay.
picked her up, and I put her on the counter, and I put her in the water.
So, let's back up real quick, okay? Let's try to maintain our composure, okay? Because I want to get the absolute correct story from you, okay? So, you're to the leftover, and then how did the idea just come into your head? Do you remember? Okay. And so, you grabbed her by the hair, and then you pushed her head under the water, and the water started running out. And so you physically started putting more water in there, correct? And what kind of struggle? Was she struggling?
She was struggling.
Okay.
She's strong.
Did you strike her or anything like that? You didn't? No? You just was able to overpower her and hold her under the water? Okay. And then you held her under the water until when? How long did you hold her head under the water?
Maybe 5-10 minutes.
5 or 10 minutes at the sink?
It was a while.
At the sink? Okay. Or did you notice if any bubbles were still coming out? Or
That's why I tried,
And so...
In December 2022, Heidi was charged with murder. Concerns about her mental health led to a court-ordered psychological evaluation. In January 2023, Heidi was found competent to stand trial following the evaluation. On March 3, 2023, she pleaded guilty to 1 count of murder in the Preble County Common Pleas Court. Heidi was sentenced on March 15, 2023, to 15 years to life in prison. Her sentence followed the mandatory guidelines for murder charges, allowing no chance for a reduced sentence due to the severity of the crime. On March 26, 2023, Brian Mason visited Michelle Elliott at her home in West Milton on North Montgomery County Line Road. He went there to show her a weapon because she wanted one for protection after a recent breakup. While showing her how it worked, Mason, who wasn't allowed to have a weapon because of a past conviction, accidentally fired it. The bullet struck Elliott in the chest, causing her instant fatality. Panicked and confused, Mason covered her body with a blanket, left in his pickup truck, and didn't report what happened. He drove around for hours, trying to decide what to do. Almost 24 hours later, on March 27, 2023, Mason, feeling guilty and scared, went to the Miamisburg Police Department and confessed to a police officer that he had accidentally fired at Elliott.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, Bobby's.
Okay.
Hey,
What's going on?
I'm here to turn myself in.
Okay, what's going on?
I had an accident last night.
Okay.
I was showing an old friend of mine how to use this that she was needing, that she asked for, and it went off and it shot in the chest.
Okay.
And I've been running around scared all
Where is this
day.
at?
Up on Miami-Montgomery County Line Road.
Okay. You just want to set your water right there?
Sure.
You put yourself up there. You got any weapons on you right now?
No.
Okay. Just put your hands behind your back for me.
Okay.
I'm just going to detain you right now based off what you're telling me.
Right. I understand.
If you want to talk to me, I'll still talk to you. Okay.
Right.
Does this person need assistance or help, or?
Do you have 2 sets of cuffs?
I can put 2 sets on you in a second, okay? Does this person need help right now, or are they deceased, or what?
They're deceased.
Does anybody else know about this?
No. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I've been waiting.
Where is this address actually that you're at?
I don't know the actual number.
Is this her house or your house, or
No, it's a friend of mine's house.
what county is it in?
It's on the Miami County side, but it's on Miami-Montgomery County Line Road.
Miamisburg 311. I'll be in the back lot with 1. Can you do a miscellaneous call? I have 1 detained. Could you start 310? What's your name, sir?
I'm Brian.
Brian?
Brian
I'm
Mason.
Officer Dooley. I'm just going to check you down.
Go right ahead.
Following Mason's confession, the police started an investigation. They took him to the interrogation room to find out more details about the incident.
November, I think. I'm not sure.
Do you know about what year?
Oh, yeah, 66?
Miamisburg 311. Can you try November 1st, 1966 on that Michelle Elliott?
Yeah, sorry, we never exchanged cards and stuff like that.
So you don't live on Soldier's Home anymore?
No, I do not.
Okay, gotcha.
No, I've been, I was living in my truck, and then after my health started failing, and I couldn't keep a med card because my blood pressure was too high, yeah, I quit and then took my savings and just been staying in rooms or in my truck.
Okay, I gotcha. Were you staying at that house with her?
No.
Would she let you stay there? Or?
No, well, she offered, but because of her debilitating disease, I couldn't. It was too tough to be around her.
Okay.
It was too tough to be around her when she was drunk and high.
Okay.
And I don't drink and I don't take pills. So
I gotcha.
that's what we argued about all the time. You know, if I ignored it, it was fine. But I had to put up with the way she acts when she was under the influence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm getting pretty dry mouth.
You want a water?
Sure.
All right. Let me get your water. I'll be right back, okay?
Thank you.
The officers then went to the crime scene and found Elliot's body exactly as Mason had described. Initially, Mason was charged with murder, but after considering that the incident was accidental and Mason had turned himself in, the charge was reduced to reckless homicide. At his trial, Mason again stated the incident was an accident and showed remorse for his actions. Nonetheless, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison. The sentence took into account the severity of his reckless actions and the fact that he illegally possessed a weapon. On July 26, 2017, 2 bodies were discovered in a car in Virginia, identified as Gregory Davis and Ryan Cross. The investigation initially struggled due to a lack of suspects and minimal evidence, with no clear connection to other criminal activities. However, Kelsey, who had been arrested less than a month before for armed robbery, was already known to the police. When his fingerprints were found at the crime scene, the police immediately recognized they had a significant lead and brought him in for questioning.
Can you remind me?
Double homicide.
Oh, I did. I saw about that on Twitter, though. I was at Cole's house, matter of fact. I was at his house all night.
All night?
Yeah.
You never left?
No.
So you spent the night over there?
Yeah.
Did you guys ever go out and hang out with anybody or anything like that?
No.
What time did you leave his house?
Probably like 6.
6 a.m.?
Or like maybe like 4. Maybe 4 or 5 or 6.
Kelsey claimed that he was at his friend's house all night and never left, an alibi commonly used by criminals because it places them away from the crime scene and often involves friends who might provide cover for them. If his friend Cole confirms to the police that Kelsey was indeed there the whole time, then it appears to clear Kelsey of being involved in the murder. However, verifying such alibis is rarely straightforward, as investigators need to scrutinize the reliability and motivations of those providing the alibi.
You're about the murder?
I heard about it on the news the next morning. My dad had called me, because when I went back home, I went to sleep. My dad called me like around 8 something. He was like, "Did you hear about that?" I was like, "Nah." You know what I'm saying?
Did you see who got
They didn't say no names or no faces or nothing.
Did you find out who got
All I know is that one of them was 19 and 20. I've seen that on the news.
Did you know the victims?
No.
Never seen them before in life or anything like that?
I still don't know who it is. I didn't know.
Ryan Cross, you know that name?
No.
How about Greg Dennis?
I don't know. They don't sound familiar.
So what's the word on the street? What happened?
I don't know too much except for what they say on the news. That's it.
As soon as the detectives mention the names and ask if he knows them, Kelsey's behavior changes noticeably. He becomes more guarded, tightening up and fidgeting with his hands much more than before. The detectives immediately notice this shift, sensing that something isn't right.
You're texting back and forth, he's trying to call you. Right.
He's trying to call me. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a phone number, so I can't call him.
He's texting you though, right? FaceTime and texting?
That's when I get home, he texts me, FaceTime me. But he didn't say anything about that.
You know we're talking to you for a reason, right?
I mean,
we're not here talking by chance.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking
Let's talk about the bag that was found in the back of the car. It's got your prints on it. It's got your DNA.
The bag?
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Let's talk about it. Why would it have that? Why would it have your DNA on it?
What bag?
There's a bag found in the back, a black backpack.
If Kelsey had a solid explanation to counter the evidence against him, you'd expect him to quickly share it with the police. Instead, his response of "I'm listening" suggests that he doesn't have a ready answer and is instead looking for a way to justify his actions based on what the detective is saying.
So, I'm in the car, and you know what I'm saying, I'm counting out my money that I have from everybody. And the two guys, matter of fact, was standing back there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They were just with me.
Did they see them?
Who?
You think the two guys who got killed, they see them back there? Your boys?
It probably did. I don't know. They didn't say anything. Matter of fact, the one guy, I think, asked him for a cigarette or something. know what I'm saying? He was walking up with me type shit.
Right.
So that's probably why he pulled off, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But other than that, after I called him and let him know, like, yo, is everything good? You feel what I'm saying? I'm just trying to get my stuff and leave for real. I don't want, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who this guy is. I don't really trust him like that. I don't know.
What kind of car did you pull up in?
Some white car, I don't know.
Okay.
And then hop in the joint and we pull off. And then next thing I know, some guys come opening that jump. And then, yeah.
All right, was the same two guys that was at the house?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It was all blacked up, everything. I don't know who those guys was. They opened the door, took some of the stuff out of them, you know what I'm saying? And that's what happened.
Where was that at?
That was like near.
In summary, Kelsey explained that he had gone out to buy drugs and ended up in a car with two people he didn't know. Suddenly, two other individuals appeared and fatally harmed the dealers. Kelsey claimed he escaped and fled the scene, texting his friend Cole to let him know he was safe. He took about 7 minutes to tell this story, adding excessive details to every part of the narrative.
They both came to one side.
Which side?
The driver's side.
And
then they opened the door and started doing that. When I got out of the car, I started running. Like, as soon as yes, I dropped everything I had and I started running.
And when they opened the car door, they just started.
Yeah, I didn't text nobody, you know what I'm saying? I didn't call nobody, nothing. The last people I talked to was them.
Okay. And did you ever see them go to the passenger side or nothing like that?
Nope.
Okay. What did you touch in that car?
The door, the bag, you know what I'm saying? I had the bag.
Did you ever touch the driver's side door?
Nope.
Did you ever open the driver's door?
Nope.
Did you ever open the passenger door?
No.
Were you ever in the front part of the car?
Nah, I tried to open the back door. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it.
That's it.
However, Kelsey's story doesn't match the evidence, which is crucial for the detectives. He insisted that he didn't touch anything at the front of the car, including the doors and seats. This statement turns out to be a significant error. The detectives are now ready to confront him with evidence that contradicts his claims, putting him in a challenging position.
You told us earlier you never touched the driver's side door, passenger side door. You know we took fingerprints off everything.
What would I have touched the door for?
That's our question.
I don't remember touching no door.
We haven't finished processing, but I'm giving you your opportunity now. Because when we do process, and you sit here and tell me that my fingerprints won't be on their doors, and I get that hit, 3 days later, that your fingerprints are on that door, and you had the opportunity to tell me the truth, how's that going to look? Because here's the bottom line, Kelsey, all right? If you those people, it's going to look one or two ways. You're going to sit here and lie, and we can think that, Kelsey's cold blood. He just them and just left them there. He didn't care. Or maybe something happened in that car. Maybe something they tried to rob you. Something that explains why it happened. Okay? But if you're not honest with us, we're not going to know that. And the thing is everything you tell us, we're going to back up with evidence. And if you're telling us one thing and it doesn't add up, and the science doesn't add up, what do you think someone's going to believe? The science or your word?
The detectives decide to present Kelsey with a less severe option, hoping he might acknowledge that he can't completely escape responsibility and might confess to something minor. This strategy is aimed at making him more willing to admit involvement, and it seems they're about to achieve the breakthrough they've been seeking.
You want to talk to us? Tell us what you gotta say.
Well, I was just over what he was saying resonated in my mind that I don't want to be looked at as somebody that, out of any aggressive motives, like don't want to be looked at as some guy that did that for no reason, because it honestly wasn't like that. So I went to the car, so I'm counting out the money, this, that, and the third, and next thing I know, I got two in my face. I don't know if they were real, I don't know if they were BB guns, whatever. Both of those guys in the front, that's in the car. Nobody else on the outside had anything. So I had mine. You know what I'm saying? But it was just for protection purposes only. I didn't have any intent on doing anything. I just wanted to get my stuff and go. So they turned around. It was like, saying, you already know what time it is. You feel what I'm saying? I'm just like, at that point, I'm thinking like, these about to kill me. You feel what I'm saying? And I was hesitant on giving them the money. Like, it's not that serious. It's $800. Like, you don't have to do this. You feel what I'm saying? We never had any problems like that. So he, he's like, nah, I'm not playing. You feel what I'm saying? Started pointing more in my face. You know what I'm saying? I had it actually on my head, had one to my head and one to my chest. So then I acted out of self-defense. After that, those two guys, the two guys outside, they took off. And then I'm trying to open the door, and I couldn't even open the door from the inside. I don't know if the child lock was on or whatever, you know what I'm saying? To me, the whole thing was planned out already. Like they were gonna rob me.
All right, so how'd you get out?
I climbed through the passenger side.
You climbed to the passenger side and opened the passenger front door?
No, I didn't. I never opened the door. The door was open after that, and then I climbed out and I started running. Honestly, sir, I'm honestly sorry that happened. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do that out of just me wanting to do that. Out of me being a cold-hearted person. I'm not that person. You know what I'm saying? I probably guess the time that I deal with them, they thought, you know what I'm saying, from how they go about it, that he was sweet. I don't come off like I'm just some hardcore gangster. I'm none of that. I acted out of self-defense.
Where's the gun now?
I don't have it.
I know. Where is it?
I don't know. I gave it to J. Cole. He did something with it. I don't know where he took it. I don't know who he gave it to.
When did you buy it in the pawn shop?
I don't remember exactly.
How long have you had it?
I'd probably say a few months.
Where'd you buy the ammo at?
Walmart.
Walmart?
Yeah.
When'd you buy the ammo from Walmart?
The same day I got it.
Okay. Did you pay credit card or cash?
I paid with cash.
Cash. Right.
That was basically everything the police needed to catch Kelsey, but just to be sure, they had him go over his story one more time.
Let's break down what happened that night a little bit, all right? So you get in the car. When they drive up to the cul-de-sac, how many people were in the car?
Like when they picked me up?
Yeah, when they picked you up.
There was only 2 people in the car. I go up to the window. I was like, what's up? Like, I'm here.
Okay.
So you like, nah, bro, just get in the car. So I'm just like, all right, bro. I guess he didn't want to just do it out in the open or something like that. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and then 2 other guys come out of nowhere and they're just blocking my door. I'm just like, and I'm just in the back, just stuck like this. You know what I'm saying? Then they turn around, they put the guns in my face, like, yeah, you already know what time it is. I'm trying to rob me, basically. And then I just shot.
Kelsey ended up confessing to the murders of Gregory and Ryan. The detectives skillfully made him feel at ease before cornering him with precise questions. They were aware of the evidence they had and managed to get Kelsey to tell lies they knew were false. However, they couldn't prove that Kelsey had planned the murders beforehand. As a result, he was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder and received a 38-year prison sentence. Cade Lish ended up confessing everything and was sent to prison at just 22 years old. He had struggled with anger issues since he was a teenager, but he never thought it would lead to this. He and a man named Jeremiah had an argument outside a restaurant. What started as a simple disagreement quickly turned into a violent fight, where Cade pulled out a pocket knife and stabbed Jeremiah 3 times. Jeremiah died from his injuries, although Cade was unaware of this at the time. This gave the detective a big chance to figure out why this tragedy occurred.
Would like to know what happened tonight.
Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is this guy okay? Is he?
You know, I haven't heard the latest on him yet.
Okay.
But obviously he was involved in a fight as well. So I'm just trying to piece it together what happened. You know, once I get some more information, I'll let you know.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to know kind of your point of view as to what happened tonight, how this started.
Sure.
The detective has to keep it from Cade that Jeremiah is dead. In Cade's mind, he thinks he's only facing a charge for assault. Cade might confess more easily if he doesn't know how serious the situation is, so the detective keeps pretending that's all it is.
My buddies were going to a movie, and I think it started at 3.
And when you say buddies, who's the figure?
Cade Baugh, that's where they picked me up from.
Okay.
Yeah, and his good friend, Brent Hilliard, I think his dad's actually the chief of police.
What happened from there?
There, I went in, sat down, a few other guys I work with were there, had some drinks, talked, and eventually everybody, was starting to go home. We both had to work today, so we decided to go home.
Cade then spends the next 5 minutes explaining what happened earlier in the night before the fight with Jeremiah. He mentions that he and Jeremiah had previous issues because Jeremiah had made some insulting comments about one of Cade's gay friends, which upset Cade. After having a few drinks, their tension came to a boiling point when they ran into each other outside the bar that night.
At some point you did get physical with this guy?
Yeah.
Was it just one guy?
I think so. I just remember getting hit and telling me, you guys need to get off me, and I'm going to stick you. I'm going to stick you. You guys need to get off me.
All Cade remembers is being attacked by 1 or more people, escaping, and then calling 911. However, there's a crucial part of the story missing, so the detective starts asking some questions to try and uncover more about Cade's role in the fight.
Now, you said you got in a scuffle with this guy, and were you guys exchanging punches?
I don't know that I punched him at all. I know that he punched me.
You said that you were going to stick him. What did you mean by that?
I had my pocket knife. I said, you need to get off me, or I'm gonna stab you, stick you. At this point, I didn't know how many freaking guys were hitting me. I was kind of scared, and I was dazed. That first hit about knocked me out.
Do you remember this guy at all?
I can't remember what position we were in when it happened. I can't remember if we were on the ground, if we were standing up. I can't remember the exact position.
But did you stab him?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Do you know how many times you stabbed him?
I don't.
More than once?
I think
twice.
I think so. I couldn't tell you the exact amount.
It turned out to be a lot easier than expected. The detective did a great job making Cade feel comfortable. By leaning in and maintaining eye contact, he showed Cade that he was interested in the conversation and could be trusted. This approach, along with Cade not knowing the full severity of what he did, made it easier for him to confess to the stabbing. Now, the detective just has to figure out all the details, which can be challenging since Cade was drunk and adrenaline-fueled at the time.
Do you recall maybe how many times you stabbed him?
I don't recall
Where?
the times.
Where you stabbed him?
I want to say in the back, maybe. Like, I know that we were wrapped up, I think.
Face to face?
Well, kind of like in a clinch. I don't know if he had a hold of me, if I had a hold of him, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Were you on the ground?
I don't remember if I was on my knees or if we were standing up. That's the part that I don't remember, but I know it's either inside or in the lower back area.
Okay. I think it was more than once, but you're not sure.
I think so, yes.
They both decide to take a break and then get back to the discussion 30 minutes later.
I think you told me before that he threw the first punch.
Yes.
Okay. And that's how you remember it as him.
Yep.
And then it just becomes a fight after that. Was there any point that you were able to, be able to break away from him, get away from him, move?
I don't.
Did you try to get away from him?
Yeah, I didn't want to fight.
Did you engage him? Were you mad at him?
I was mad after I got hit, but I didn't want to fight, and I remember telling him, I don't want to fight as I'm getting hit.
You were just trying to get away from him?
Yes.
At that point, after you got hit?
Yeah.
But you couldn't?
Exactly.
Okay. So, at what point during this struggle, did you feel like your only choice to get away from this guy was to...
After I told him that I didn't want to fight, and I told him to stop, and I told him I'm going to stab you if you don't stop.
Why stab him though? Why not?
Well, because nothing else was working.
Did you try what else did you try?
I tried to get away, physically, and, through telling him, but...
This is a crucial part of the case. Cade says he tried everything he could to escape before he ended up stabbing Jeremiah, claiming that nothing else was working. He also insists that he never punched or kicked Jeremiah. From the detective's perspective, it appears that Cade just tried to crawl away and then quickly resorted to using potentially deadly force with the pocket knife. This might have been a split-second decision made in perceived self-defense, or it could have been a deliberate act because he wanted Jeremiah dead. This is a tough judgment to make, and the detective needs to dig deeper to figure it out.
How long did it take after you started stabbing for this to for you guys to break apart? Was it immediate? Was it a couple minutes? Was it after?
I know I had him a couple times, more than once.
But once
it started happening.
Did you continue to stab him after he let go of you, or what?
I don't think, no.
At what point did you stop him, I guess I should ask?
When I felt that he had let go of me, basically.
But you didn't go after him anymore?
I don't think so, no.
You don't know how many times you have? Do you have any idea?
Multiple.
Okay.
I couldn't give you even a close number. I know more than once.
And that's kind of my issue with this incident that happened, is because of the number of times this guy was... I don't have an exact count, because the doc, everything that's going on, but we're looking at 13, 14 times, okay, which is a lot, okay. A couple times I can see, once, twice, 3 times, but when you start getting 10, 11, 12, 13, that's a lot of times to stab somebody. Okay. And I understand, you told me what happened, why you did, and everything like that, but I gotta look at everything involved here. So the number of times this guy was is a concern to me. Okay. The second thing here, and this is probably going to be the hardest part to deal with, okay, is this guy's. Okay. That's the tough part. It doesn't leave me with a lot of choice here as to what to do with you. Okay. And you can probably understand that, right? Okay, so you're gonna go to jail.
And that's exactly how things unfolded for Cade. After his arrest, he went to trial for ending the life of Jeremiah. The jury faced the same difficult decision as the detective earlier in the case. Although it seemed like Cade was telling the truth about the fight, and all evidence supported his version of events, he still stabbed Jeremiah 13 times. The jury convicted him of voluntary manslaughter, a charge different from first or second-degree murder. This charge applies when someone intended to kill, but wasn't entirely guilty of murder, because they were provoked or faced circumstances that would cause a reasonable person to act similarly. In Cade's case, this verdict made sense. The head juror summed it up well. He believed Cade was scared, but his actions weren't solely driven by fear. As a result, Cade was sentenced to 22 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 10 years. The detective's skill in uncovering the full story, especially under such complex circumstances, was crucial to reaching this outcome. In 2010, Daniel Wozniak, facing upcoming wedding and honeymoon expenses, made a shocking decision. Instead of finding additional work or exploring other options, he took the lives of his neighbor Samuel Hare and his friend Julie Kibuishi to steal money from them. It's a disturbing story, but he eventually confessed his crimes to the police.
You wanted to talk to me. What's going on?
I'm crazy and I did it.
You did what?
Julie and I killed Sam.
It's weird how he's so casual about it, but then he switches and starts acting like the Joker.
Was?
Money and insanity.
Money and insanity. Okay?
That laugh is really creepy. Daniel was caught by U.S. Marshals at his bachelor party just 2 days before his wedding. The trial took a long time, but in 2016, he was convicted and sentenced to death. Danta Wright, a 17-year-old, confessed to attacking Jordan Clee in the head with a weapon, which was deeply shocking, especially since he did so in front of Jordan Clee's mother. During his conviction and sentencing, Danta reportedly smiled, nearly jeopardizing his plea deal. Despite this, he received a sentence of 25 to 53 years in prison as part of the deal. Hopefully, during his time in prison, he can reflect on the seriousness of his actions and understand why such behavior is not something to joke about, especially given the gravity of his confession in front of the victim's mother.
What did you do with that gun in Mr. Jordan Clee?
Shot him.
And where did you shoot him?
On the top, was it?
And did you kill him with that shot?
Yes.
The victim's family might feel relieved and believe that justice has been served. Next, we have Edward Edwards. From 1977 to 1996, he took the lives of at least 5 people, with suspicion suggesting he may have been responsible for more. There are theories linking Ed Edwards to numerous well-known crimes, including speculation that he could have been the Zodiac Killer or the Golden State Killer.
Committed there in Geauga County, and I'm responsible for it, and I am wanting the death penalty.
He was sentenced to death after admitting to taking the lives of at least 5 people, but he passed away from natural causes in prison a month later. As seen in the clip, he desired the death penalty because he couldn't stop thinking about harming others. Police discovered the body of a young man from Oklahoma, Gennaro Sanchez, in a ditch, bearing bullet wounds that led to his demise. His killers might have gotten away with it if they weren't so arrogant. Gerard Murray, a 21-year-old student and former classmate of Sanchez, admitted to the crime. He had asked his friend Gennaro to drive him to Walmart, then pulled out a weapon and told him to drive to another town. Gerard played with the weapon, making Gennaro uneasy but compliant, even handing the weapon to Gennaro at one point. Gennaro was unaware that Gerard had a second weapon and didn't expect to be attacked. When Gerard confessed, he did so calmly, as if he were describing how he changed a tire.
In summation that I'm guilty, yes.
Of what?
Of murder. I shot in the head twice.
He simply wanted to experience what it felt like to take someone's life, and unfortunately, Gennaro Sanchez was in the wrong place at the wrong time. In 2016, Manuel took the life of his girlfriend, Katrina Rivera. She was first reported missing, but after a police chase, he was arrested and her body was discovered in the car. It was a truly awful situation. While in police custody after the chase, he exhibited disturbing behavior and eventually confessed to the crime.
Do you think that you're possessed by the devil?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm the Antichrist.
Apparently, all of this happened because she told him she didn't want to be together anymore, which is really scary. It's clear Manuel had serious mental health issues that weren't being addressed. Shortly after these events, Manuel took his own life in his jail cell. Ed Kemper is responsible for the brutal deaths of 10 people, including his grandparents and his own mother.
Back then, in 1972 and 73, unable to live with the fact that I just stabbed to death and cut the throat of an innocent young woman.
When he was a child, he would decapitate his sister's dolls and once stalked his second-grade teacher with a knife. Robert Pickton, considered one of Canada's worst serial killers, dropped out of school and worked at his family's pig farm, where many of his heinous crimes occurred. He was initially arrested in 2002 and convicted in 2007 for taking the lives of 6 people. During a prolonged investigation, evidence of numerous additional deaths surfaced. While in prison, an undercover police officer posed as his cellmate, leading Pickton to confess to 49 crimes.
That's what I was slapping people for. Yeah. Make a big battle. Make a big fight.
He told the undercover officer he wanted to take one more life to make it an even 50, and he claimed he was only caught because he was careless. The trial was chaotic, but he received a life sentence with no chance of parole for 25 years, the maximum sentence allowed under Canadian law at that time. Unfortunately, this means he could be eligible for parole eventually. Joseph DeAngelo, also known as the Golden State Killer, confessed to numerous heinous crimes, bringing a long-awaited sense of closure to the law enforcement teams that pursued him for over 40 years. Despite appearing as a typical, if stern, former police officer from the Sacramento area, DeAngelo was responsible for over 50 rapes and 12 murders across California during the 1970s and 1980s. His ordinary demeanor hid his true nature as a violent criminal, which remained undiscovered until his arrest in 2018. It wasn't until June 29, 2020, that the 74-year-old DeAngelo admitted guilty to 26 charges, including 13 murders and 13 kidnappings linked to robberies. The COVID-19 pandemic had postponed his initial court proceedings, but he eventually faced justice, pleading guilty to all charges.
Survivors have spoken clearly. The defendant deserves no mercy.
I've listened to all your statements, each one of them, and I'm truly sorry to everyone I've heard. Thank you, Your Honor.
Although legal limitations meant he could not be tried for the rapes, he was sentenced to 11 consecutive life sentences, plus an additional life term and 8 more years, guaranteeing he will spend the rest of his life in prison. Kevin Davis was 18 years old when he tragically took the life of his own mother following a conversation that apparently upset him. In his interaction with the police, he provided a very detailed confession of the events, displaying a startling lack of remorse. His description of the crime included details that are too disturbing to repeat, highlighting a disturbing level of detachment from the gravity of his actions.
Yeah, I added a bit. Then I just, that was kind of silly, but then yeah, I just decided to reach in and kind of just...
Imagine someone committing a terrible crime and then describing it as somewhat trivial. This is hard to comprehend. During his trial, a doctor testified that although he had a personality disorder, he was fully aware of the difference between right and wrong and knew his actions were wrong. There was no medical diagnosis that could excuse his behavior. Kevin remains in prison, where he is likely to spend his life, although he will be eligible for parole in 2044. Manuel Vela took the life of his girlfriend, Katrina Rivera, who was pregnant at the time. Initially, she was reported missing, but after a police car chase, Vela was arrested and her body was discovered in his car. The details of the case are very disturbing and too harsh to discuss, but it was a horrific act. Following the chase, he was taken into police custody, where he exhibited bizarre and frightening behavior and eventually confessed to the crime.
So, do you think that you're possessed by the devil?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm the Antichrist.
It seems that this tragedy occurred after she told him she no longer wanted to be together, which is extremely frightening. It's obvious that Manuel was dealing with several mental health problems that weren't being addressed. Soon after this awful incident, Manuel took his own life in his jail cell. On August 5th, 2018, 35-year-old Ryan Lamb called 911 in a panic, reporting that he had found his boyfriend, 31-year-old Ryan Nixon, covered in puncture wounds. When the police arrived at their apartment, they noticed signs of a struggle, with disarray throughout and blood in almost every room. they discovered Ryan Nixon's body seated in the bathtub with the shower running. The police immediately wanted to question Ryan Lamb, but he was acting very frantic and was difficult to communicate with.
I need my man.
Okay, come here.
Yes.
Walk with me.
Oh my God. No, baby. Oh my gosh, please.
Right.
Oh, please.
Okay.
It just came home.
After arriving at the scene, the police decided to bring Ryan Lamb in for questioning. However, they waited until he had regained his composure before starting the interrogation.
No. Oh my God, Mama. Oh my God, no.
Typically, in cases of a missing person or murder, investigators first focus on the spouse or partner. This case was no exception. The investigators quickly began scrutinizing the claims made by Ryan Lamb about the circumstances surrounding the discovery.
So Ryan, I know that you've told the other officers kind of what took place. I'm sorry I wasn't there for that. Can you tell me from start to finish?
I just recall like coming in, blood all over this dude, and I thought he cracked his nose or something, and I go in, and he was laying right on the kitchen. There's a wall that separates the kitchen from the living room. He was laying up against that, and then he just called for help, and like, he said it was fine. It was fine.
Ryan said it was fine.
He said he was totally like conscious and like talking to me and said it was fine.
The investigators noticed relatively fresh injuries on Ryan Lamb's chest that appeared similar to those that could be caused by a 4-pronged fork. After about 45 minutes of questioning, they asked Ryan how he sustained these injuries, prompting him to explain.
What's that from? It looks like a fork.
Yeah.
What's it from?
Well, this room. That's
Okay.
the lies that completely restrained. That's what we're into.
Investigators were still uncertain about Ryan Lamb's involvement in the incident, so they asked him for his clothing, which he provided. Meanwhile, one of the investigators, Detective Wardensky, revisited the crime scene and started knocking on neighbors' doors to gather more information. At the third door, Detective Wardensky encountered a neighbor with a significant account. According to this neighbor, earlier that evening, loud screams and sounds of a possible physical altercation were heard coming from the apartment shared by the two Ryans. The neighbor reported hearing one male voice exclaim, "You've stabbed me in the chest," followed by another male voice retorting, "You stabbed me in the chest first with the fork." Given that the injuries described by the neighbor matched those found on Ryan's chest, Detective Wardensky believed he had established probable cause. He decided to contact the county attorney to pursue charges against Ryan. Hoping to pressure Ryan into confessing, Detective Wardensky informed him of these developments.
Here's where we're at with this. I just talked with the county attorney's office, and based on the information I have, we're going to be charging you with deliberate homicide.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. 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 No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm asking you, I'm begging you here, please explain to me what happened so I have a clear picture, you know, of what took place. You know, I mean, otherwise I gotta go based on the facts that I have.
Understood. Yeah. I poked him too hard and his head, or I poked him in the back of the head, I'm not sure.
So how did the blood get out by the front door? How did that happen?
He got up, like looking for me,
Okay.
I didn't leave him. I didn't leave him in the shower. I didn't leave him anywhere near the bathroom. Like it was right there by the clothes, and it was just like so much. And then he started like getting really like on the back of his head right there. And I thought he had like banged his head, or maybe I poked him in the neck or something. It probably not like triggering me to get some information. Like this is such like an accident. It's gone like so bad.
Okay.
Oh my God. My mama.
After about 11 hours of questioning, Ryan Lamb was arrested and charged with the murder of 31-year-old Ryan Nixon. When the autopsy results came in, they didn't match Ryan Lamb's version of events. The autopsy showed that Ryan Nixon had a broken rib, a fractured sternum, severe internal bleeding from stab wounds, and injuries from blunt force trauma. A year later, on June 4th, 2019, Ryan Lamb's trial started, and he pleaded not guilty, changing his story once again. He claimed that after he got home, an argument with his boyfriend escalated quickly. According to Ryan, the fight turned physical when Ryan Nixon stabbed him with a fork, prompting him to defend himself with scissors. The prosecution challenged his claim of self-defense by pointing out his lack of immediate action after the incident. Ryan said they couldn't call 911 because neither had a working phone, and he had to walk over half a mile to a gas station to call for help. However, the prosecution noted he could have asked a neighbor to use their phone, which would have been quicker. It was also mentioned that most phones can make emergency calls, even if they aren't on a paid plan. Despite these points, the jury nearly acquitted Ryan, with only one vote short, leading to a mistrial because they couldn't decide if he should be charged with negligent homicide instead of deliberate homicide. Before a date for the second trial could be set, prosecutors offered Ryan Lamb a plea deal. Ryan agreed to an Alford plea, where he would plead guilty without admitting to the crime in exchange for a reduction of his charges to negligent homicide. Believing he might not win in a retrial, Ryan accepted the plea to reduce his potential prison time. In 2020, he was convicted of the negligent homicide of Ryan Nixon and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Ryan is expected to be released in 2030. The BTK killer was the self-imposed nickname of American serial killer Dennis Rader.
After you tied them up, what occurred?
Well, they started complaining about being tied up, and I re-loosened the bonds a couple of times, tried to make Mr. Otero as comfortable as I could.
Dennis Rader, known as the BTK killer, ended the lives of 10 people in Kansas from 1974 to 1991. He often sent letters to the police boasting about his crimes. He was finally arrested in 2005 after he sent a floppy disk to the police, which contained metadata that exposed his identity.
Didn't have a mask on or anything, they already could ID me, and made a decision to go ahead and put him down.
On the day of his trial, Rader unexpectedly pleaded guilty to all 10 counts of first-degree murder. He also detailed how he committed each of the murders.
Tied his feet to the bedpost, on the bedpost so he couldn't run. Kind of tied her in the other bedroom.
During his nearly hour-long confession, Rader showed no remorse for his actions and was subsequently sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences. Describing Israel Keyes as merely terrifying doesn't fully capture the extent of his horror. Born in Utah, Keyes was a serial killer who meticulously planned multiple murders across several U.S. states. His last known victim, Samantha Koenig, was abducted and fatally harmed before Keyes was captured in Alaska, attempting to use her debit card at an ATM. While in police custody, Keyes eerily detailed his crimes, but deliberately omitted enough information to prevent direct linkage to any confirmed cases.
I was smart. I would let them come to me. Just remote area.
Nevertheless, he did confess to the murders of Samantha Koenig and a middle-aged couple named Bill and Lorraine Courier.
I get exactly what there's not much to choose from in a manner of speaking, but there's also no witnesses really. There's nobody else around.
Prosecutors were still assembling their case against Israel Keyes when he took his own life in his jail cell. Mark Chopper Red, one of Australia's most infamous criminals, had an extensive criminal record that included armed robbery, kidnapping, and arson.
Stand back and you go, smash to the back of the head.
Reed's notorious criminal activities resulted in him spending much of his adult life in prison. During his time behind bars, the infamous gangster contracted hepatitis C and was later diagnosed with liver cancer.
ain't up.
Right, this one?
Yeah, he packed out. I didn't even love that.
Shortly before his death, Reed appeared in a televised interview with 60 Minutes Australia, where he confessed to being responsible for the deaths of 4 people.
What was your involvement in his murder?
Oh, just the bloke that killed him.
Perhaps the most shocking aspect of the interview, which took place just 16 days before his death, was the casual manner in which Reed described his graphic crimes. In Cincinnati, Ohio, Joseph Paul Franklin, a self-proclaimed racist and white supremacist, murdered 14-year-old Darrell Lane and 13-year-old Dante Brown after encountering them on the street. Initially intending to target an interracial couple to make a public statement, Franklin fatally harmed the 2 young boys because of their race. After his arrest, he admitted to the act, detailing his motives and actions in his disturbing crime.
I did it. I just, the only thing I can say is I did this.
And can you also tell me why you did it?
I was trying to get rid of all the ugly people in the world.
Okay.
And
why did you
I
select?
considered the blacks the ugliest people of all. I just put the gun right on the biggest dude first, and fired one shot with that 44 Magnum. And so, I just heard somebody go, make a sound like they just got shot. And as soon as the other guy bolted, it was just like a miracle that I got him, man. I did not even aim the gun at him, man. As soon as he heard that shot, he just bolted and started running. And I aimed the gun without even, just in the dark there, just hoping that I would get a lucky shot and hit him, And sure enough,
After being charged with murder and multiple hate crimes targeting Jewish and African American individuals, Joseph Paul Franklin was eventually sentenced to death. Ed Kemper, a deeply disturbing figure, was responsible for the deaths of 10 people, including his own mother and paternal grandparents, on April 20th, 1973. After ending the life of his mother and one of her friends, Kemper called the police to confess to the crimes.
One victim let me back in the car. I locked myself out. She opened the door for me. My was under the seat.
Ed Kemper was charged with 10 murders, but was convicted of 8. For these, he received 8 consecutive life sentences.
Picking up young women, and I'm going a little bit farther each time. It's a daring kind of a thing.
While in prison, Ed Kemper gave several interviews, including one for the documentary Murder, No Apparent Motive. During these interviews, he spoke openly and in explicit detail about his crimes.
How come they get in a car with somebody at that time?
She judged me not to be that guy. I didn't look like it.
Ed Kemper was also profiled by agents from the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit, a process that was depicted in the Netflix series Mindhunter. While many individuals have confessed to their crimes in interviews or during police interrogations, Earl Valentine essentially bragged about his on Facebook.
She lied on me, had warrants taken out on me. She drugged me all the way down to nothing.
In a shocking live stream in September 2016, Earl Valentine confessed to harming his ex-wife, Keisha, and their son, Earl Jr. Keisha had moved to Norlena, North Carolina, with Earl Jr. to get away from Valentine after her restraining order against him expired. In the video, Valentine accused his ex-wife of trying to ruin his reputation and claimed he attacked her as revenge.
I loved my wife, but she deserved what she had coming.
Police later located Valentine at a motel in Columbia, South Carolina, but discovered that he had already taken his own life. In November 2008, Christian Romero, then a teenager, murdered his father, Vincent, and their tenant, Timothy Romans, by fatally attacking them as they returned from work. The case puzzled investigators, who considered several other suspects before facing the inevitable truth. Initially, Romero claimed he came home from school to find both men already dead.
On the ground. And I said, Dad?
Upon further questioning by the police, Christian Romero confessed to committing the murders himself. In a plea agreement with the prosecution, Romero pleaded guilty to the negligent homicide of Timothy Romans, but was not charged for his father's death. He was initially sent to a treatment facility for an indefinite period, but was released when he turned 18. The Jinx was a 6-part true crime documentary series that premiered on HBO in 2015. The critically acclaimed show focused on real estate mogul Robert Durst, who was suspected of murdering his wife Kathleen McCormack and his friend Susan Berman. In the series finale, Durst was confronted with a handwritten letter linked to Berman's murder that appeared to match his handwriting, but he completely denied writing it.
Here it is. You're caught.
Then, in a moment considered one of the most shocking in television history, Durst went to the bathroom and seemingly confessed to the crimes while his microphone was still on and recording.
Oh, of course.
Robert Durst was eventually sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Susan Berman, but he died of cardiac arrest just 3 months later. The 1922 murder of William Desmond Taylor, a prominent silent film actor and director, is still one of Hollywood's greatest unsolved mysteries. Despite several suspects, the investigation was mishandled, and the case remains officially unresolved.
When the police arrived on the scene, there were various people all over the house.
The studio personnel were running around, making off with all-important letters, documents, possible evidence.
Over 40 years after the crime, Margaret Gibson, a Hollywood actress who had worked with Taylor early in his career, made a shocking confession. As she lay on her kitchen floor suffering from a heart attack, the 70-year-old confessed to fatally wounding Taylor.
She went on to say that she had shot and killed a William Desmond Taylor.
With no physical evidence remaining and no clear motive, there was no way to verify Gibson's sensational claim about the murder. In May 2010, Daniel Wozniak, a community theater actor in Costa Mesa, California, was arrested after Julie Kibuishi's body was found in the apartment of his neighbor, Sam Harris. At that time, the police were searching for Wozniak, believing he had run away after ending the life of Kibuishi.
He's like, I shot somebody. I was not happy about it. It was a fit of rage, and honestly, she had it coming. So I'm saying, absolutely, yeah. You're arrested. For her.
However, after several hours of questioning, Wozniak admitted to fatally harming both Kibuishi and Harris, who was a war veteran. He admitted that his motive was to steal Harris's combat pay savings.
I'm crazy and I did it.
You did what?
I Julie and I killed Sam.
In 2016, Wozniak was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and was sentenced to the death penalty. This is Lee Radarty, a man taken into custody on suspicion of abducting and fatally harming his co-worker, Savannah Gold. The police were unsure where Savannah might be, and they knew that a misstep in the interrogation could prevent them from ever finding the killer. Lee had concocted a solid story to ensure that Savannah would remain missing. He thought he was smarter than the detectives, but this belief would soon prove to be a big mistake. On August 2nd, 2017, Savannah's family got text messages saying she was running away and quitting her job. The messages had mistakes, leading her family to report her missing. The investigation was going nowhere until police received CCTV footage from the Bonefish Grill, where Savannah worked. The footage showed Savannah entering a silver car in the parking lot. The car shook violently, and the door was opened and closed 3 times before it drove off. Savannah was never seen again. Interviews revealed that the car belonged to Lee Radarta, Savannah's manager at the grill, and her boyfriend for about 2 months. Lee was arrested on suspicion of murder. He was taken to the police station under the pretense of being arrested for a minor traffic warrant. This set the stage for what happened next in the interrogation room.
I'll stay right out here. You can go have a seat for me real quick. I'll be right back, okay? Yes, sir.
Lee was told by the detective that he would be back soon, leading him to believe he wouldn't have to wait long. However, it actually took 90 minutes before anyone came back into the room. Just a few days earlier, Lee had been interviewed about the disappearance of a girl he had kidnapped. Now, he was handcuffed and in a police interrogation room. Lee was feeling very anxious, but he was still confident that the police didn't have enough evidence to convict him. Unfortunately for him, the act the detectives were putting on was about to fall apart.
Hey, man. How you doing? Good, good. You remember me from the other day? Detective Reeves? Okay. This is my partner, Detective Staley.
The detective who came into the room wasn't the one who had brought Lee in. It was the detective who had interviewed him about Savannah 3 days earlier. Any hope Lee had that this situation was unrelated disappeared, and he was filled with panic. Despite this, Lee stuck to his plan and tried to stay calm as he braced himself for the barrage of questions he was about to face.
Savannah, you said that you knew her and you guys had, you knew her from work. I mean, just kind of fill me in with that. How long have you known her?
Like I said, I've known her obviously since she worked
since she started working there. I would say probably about 8 months ago, we started hanging out outside of work. And at the time, I had a girlfriend, but we kind of connected, me and Savannah. So we hung out a little bit here and there, got pretty close. We come from, I guess, somewhat similar backgrounds, I guess you should say.
The question posed to Lee was, how long have you known Savannah? It was a straightforward question that typically would require a simple answer. Generally, people who are innocent would answer such questions briefly and directly. However, those who feel under pressure often give longer answers in an attempt to appear knowledgeable and credible, something that Lee would end up doing.
Kind of connected, hung out for a little while. I'd probably say a period of 2-3 months.
Okay.
And then she started using drugs a lot. I did them with her a couple times, and then she started to get heavy into them. And
oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I kind of just tried to take a step back and, put things off. And then probably a month or so ago, I saw Savannah at work, and she looked healthy again. She gained a little bit of weight. We kind of were talking, here and there. We hung out a couple times. She came over to the house, and we just kicked back, drank a couple beers, watched movies, stuff like that.
Lee answered a straightforward question about how long he had known Savannah by talking for over 5 minutes, detailing specific encounters between them. This lengthy response gave the detectives more reason to suspect he might be hiding something. To test his reaction, they decided to confront him with a small inconsistency. During the first interview, Lee claimed he hadn't seen Savannah in a while. However, CCTV footage suggested otherwise, indicating that his statement was likely a lie.
Then, as we hung out, after a couple times, she brought drugs over. I told her, I was like, you're doing really good. You can't, you shouldn't be doing it again. I think we moved too fast. Split mutual ways.
Mutual. Right. Yeah.
And that was the last time that we text.
Okay.
When was that? When was that?
It was probably 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Sometime in July.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things you said was that was the last time that you had contact with her.
Yes.
As far as, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I mean you correct me.
That was the last time that I texted her.
Yeah, text or a phone call or a messenger
Yeah.
or anything like that. 2 to 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Okay. And then the last time, when was the last time you saw her?
This is what I was a bit, I didn't tell you the truth when we talked at Bonefish.
Okay.
Last time I saw her was Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
I heard that she has been basically telling a lot of people at work that we hooked up a bunch, like a couple of days before that.
Yeah.
So I met her in the parking lot at Bonefish.
When was this?
Wednesday afternoon.
Okay. Well, do you know what time or about?
It was about 5:30.
Unaware of the full extent of the evidence, Lee has inadvertently given the detectives ample reason to consider him guilty. They know he had a relationship with Savannah. His vehicle matches the one in the CCTV footage, and he was at the location when the crime occurred. Lee is unaware that the police have this footage. If he were, he might have concocted an alibi placing him elsewhere. However, despite these indicators, the evidence isn't conclusive enough for a guaranteed conviction. The detectives need to press harder to try to elicit a full confession from him, which won't be an easy task.
I met her in the parking lot at Bonefish.
When was this?
Wednesday afternoon.
What happened to your neck?
That was self-inflicted, actually.
What did you use?
A knife.
Could you see who the person in the truck was?
The truck had fairly tinted windows. Mm-hmm. I saw a baseball cap.
Yeah. You see a guy, girl, white, black?
I couldn't really tell if it was a guy or a girl.
Okay.
I just remember seeing the truck drive and her get in.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm sitting in front and the truck drives right past me.
Yeah.
And I saw a baseball cap through the passenger window.
Okay.
But...
So did it seem like she knew the person?
I mean, she got right in.
Lee, why didn't you mention this before since we've been looking for this girl? I mean, don't you think that information is important?
It definitely does. And I regret obviously not saying anything before.
The detectives likely noticed inconsistencies in Lee's story from the very beginning of the interview. Their decision to bring them up later was strategic, aimed at increasing the pressure on Lee. His anxiety about his previous major lie, that Savannah had exited his vehicle, would already be heightened. Catching him in another lie shortly afterward would likely amplify his anxiety and paranoia. This is probably why the detectives quickly shifted the conversation back to discussing the truck, to keep Lee off balance and press him further as the interrogation continued.
I mean, obviously, you know, I was the last one to see her, so I was a little bit scared at that. And
how do you know you just said you weren't the last one to see her. You just said somebody in a truck.
Well, I mean, the last one to see her at Bonefish.
Okay.
That the last one she's heard from.
Right.
I had contact with that anybody knows of.
Sure.
The detective knows he's starting to catch Lee on the back foot, so he decides to keep the pressure up.
Where's Savannah right now?
I don't know.
Where would I find her?
I don't know.
That's my prime objective, is to find her.
Definitely.
And here's a couple reasons I need to find her. One is I'm hoping that she's still alive. And that's really, I really do, I'm holding out for that. And if she's not alive, then I think she and her family are due that knowledge. I think they need some closure. So, where is she?
I don't know where she is.
Where is Savannah?
I don't know.
I need to know where Savannah is so I can let her family know.
Where she is.
You don't know because you had something done with her and you weren't involved in that part? I don't know. Tell me something. What can I work with?
I told you the last time I saw her.
But that's not true because we have proof. We have proof. And that's why we're sitting here, Lee. At this point, we need this for her. I mean, I look at that little girl and I think of my little girl. My little girl who's her age. That's who I think about. That was my little girl. I couldn't imagine. I don't care what she said about you or whatever, but my little girl is that age.
Maybe
and you're not telling the truth.
Maybe something gets out of hand in the car.
I didn't do anything.
Okay, you didn't do anything, but she was in your car. She never got out of your car. She never got out of your car, Lee.
This is when the detective's clever strategy really begins to show. The female detective, who had been quiet up until now, starts to take an active role in the interrogation. The male detective had maintained a very serious and professional attitude throughout, so the sudden appearance of someone who looks vulnerable and emotional is a jarring change for Lee. This shift, especially as she becomes more expressive and even starts to plead with him, is likely to shock him even more.
She never gets out of that car. And you drive off. She never gets out of that car. There is no green truck. And that's not right to her. We're fact finders, Lee. I don't have anything personal against you.
No, not at all. I mean, it's
we're
over.
just fact finders.
Tell us
we're
what
just
happened.
doing
Where
our
is she?
job. No. Where did you go with her? Where did you go with her, Lee? Be human. You're a human. You're a man. Where did you go with her? I know you're not that cruel inside.
Maybe you don't know where she is now. Where did you go with her?
Please. I'm begging you, Lee. I know you're not an evil person. I don't see that in you. I don't see that in your history. I don't hear those things about you at work. Is she still at your house?
No.
Okay. Is she still in your car?
No.
Okay. Well, then where is she? What was going on in the back seat? For the doors to be kicked open. She kicked open that door 3 times, Lee. She kicked it. We saw it. And you know I'm not making it up because I wouldn't know this because I wasn't there unless we had video of it, correct? Yes, correct. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm just a fact finder.
I mean, she was upset. She tried to slap me. I slapped her. She went to get out. I grabbed her around her waist and said, "Where are you going? Why are you hitting me?" She calmed down and we left.
Why would she leave with you after that? Why would she?
I mean, we've gotten arguments plenty of times where she says she doesn't care what happens or anything like that.
All right. Sometimes people do wrong things, right? Some people make mistakes. It's what you do afterwards. I got a family that needs closure. They are now coming to the reality that she's no longer with us. Do you want people to remember you as a guy who said, okay, look, I'm going to do the right thing? Or do you want your family and everybody else to think that you're some evil, heartless person who won't tell us where she is? I don't think you're that kind of guy. I don't think you're evil. Just tell us where she is. Closure for her family.
She was hitting me. She wouldn't stop, and I squeezed back. I just squeezed her hard. Stop.
You squeezed her around her neck or around her neck?
She just wouldn't let go.
I didn't let go.
Where is she now?
Please tell us where she is.
All I want to do is pond on the west side of the Club Du Clay.
Club Du Clay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Longchamp.
Yeah. Okay.
A few days after the interrogation, a dive team found the remains of Savannah Gold. They were burned and nearly unrecognizable, making it impossible to determine her cause of death. Lee Rodart later pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 40 years in prison in March 2021. An 18-year-old suspect was arrested after he allegedly hit a police officer with his car. He was then read his Miranda rights.
It is a criminal investigation. Obviously, you're not free to go because you have warrants for your arrest. I'm going to read your Miranda because it's very important you understand your rights. Okay? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand each of these rights I've explained to you? Yes, sir. Have these rights in mind? Do you wish to talk to me now? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? Say what have these rights in mind? Do you wish to talk to me now? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You don't want to talk to me? I just call my mom. Okay, you can call your mom at the jail. All right.
At just 18 years old, this individual demonstrated a keen understanding of how to handle a police interrogation, effectively exercising his rights and outwitting the detectives, almost as if he intended to spend the rest of his life in prison. Here's another chilling confession, mainly because of the motive and how the facts were presented. Now, we have Jeremy Cancel admitting to the violent asphyxiation of another person out of boredom. During the interview, he looks bored, leaning against the wall with a blank expression. What could make you feel more helpless than hearing your killer yawn as he watches the life drain out of you? In November 2014, Peter Steer, a cameraman from 7 News in Australia, went to Noosa Heads in Queensland to report on a weapon incident. While on his way, a man on a motorbike named Geordie Brooke stopped him and admitted he was responsible for the incident. Steer called the police and recorded Brooke as he tearfully confessed to the crime.
Don't be silly. Don't be silly.
While waiting for the police, Brooke changed his mind and forcefully took the cameraman's car. He was later arrested after crashing into a gas station. He faced several charges, including attempted murder and armed robbery.
Don't be silly. Don't be silly.
Luckily, justice was served. The 2007 murder of Linda Stein, a celebrity realtor and former music manager, in her Manhattan apartment quickly attracted intense media attention. After a thorough investigation, authorities focused on Stein's personal assistant, Natavia Lowry, who reportedly had a difficult relationship with her boss.
Why am I here? Like, what's going on? How did I get to this point? I'm asking myself that.
During her interrogation, Natavia Lowry apparently confessed to her role in Linda Stein's murder, stating that she was provoked when Stein blew smoke in her face and made racially insensitive remarks.
And, her screaming and yelling, I just snatched it from her. So I took it and it's like, I just hit her with it.
It was revealed that Lowry had stolen $30,000 from Stein and likely murdered her when confronted about the theft. Although she later withdrew her confession, Lowry was convicted and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Sean Vincent Gillis, who even described himself as pure evil, committed horrific crimes over a decade, taking the lives of 8 women in and around Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Known as the other Baton Rouge killer, he was infamous for performing disturbing acts on his victims' bodies.
What tools did you bring with you for the monster brain?
In case it was a fishing knife.
In 2004, Sean Vincent Gillis was arrested and charged with 3 murders. He later confessed to these and an additional 5 murders. Gillis provided detailed accounts of how he hunted his victims and described the gruesome methods he used to end their lives.
There was a pipe on the ground. Not even a pipe, it was like a steel rod. Kind of like rebar, but smoother.
Sean Vincent Gillis was ultimately convicted of the initial 3 murders he was charged with and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jennifer Pan, a young woman who committed a serious crime, admitted to it on tape after long hours of police questioning. She hired hitmen to stage a break-in and eliminate her parents while ensuring her own safety. This situation is tricky because, like in Making a Murderer and other cases of wrongful convictions from false confessions, there could be doubts. However, Jennifer's case was unusual because she was supposed to be the lone survivor of the break-in that ended in her parents' deaths. Her father, who also survived, had a story that didn't match hers at all. During her police interview, the 24-year-old cried and after many hours gave away her guilt with a single question: what happens to me? At that point, the officer softened, played the good cop, and encouraged her to be strong.
They came, you paid, and they did what they were supposed to.
In the end, she describes the lengthy process of deciding to hire a hitman to eliminate her parents and what instructions she gave to the hitman. On the first day of classes in August 2012, 15-year-old sophomore Robert Gladden opened fire in the school's cafeteria. He had partly planned the event, shown by his grim Facebook post that morning saying, "First day of school, last day of my life." Gladden was depressed due to his parents' divorce and had been self-harming by drinking and cutting. He sneaked a disassembled weapon into school in his backpack, planning to cause as much harm as possible before ending his own life. He felt life was meaningless, which drove his actions that day. During lunch, he put the weapon together in the bathroom and tried to start his attack in the cafeteria. Fortunately, he only managed to fire one time before a teacher stopped him. The bullet hit another student who was critically injured but survived. During his interrogation, Robert Gladden admitted to the police what he had intended and done on the day of the incident.
Can you sign right there? Your good old legal signature. You want date and time, man? It's August 27th. Well, you got it. 3:30. So what's going on today, man?
I was just gonna myself, but like a month or two ago, or actually the first time I thought about myself was in 4th grade, but I was so young, I figured it. But today, about 2 months ago, I was just gonna kill myself. Then I realized wouldn't get the point across, like how messed up the world is. So then I was like, might as well just kill a couple kids and then off myself. So I went there and I had broken down the and I had it in a bag, and I took it into the bathroom and put it up, and then I walked into the cafeteria, and I didn't really have any one person that I was trying to just turn to the side. And then, like before I could even get the second shot off, a teacher came over and like pushed me up against a vending machine. So then I was stuck there and just gave up.
He was later charged with attempted first-degree murder. His case is particularly disturbing due to his young age and the clear signs of his struggling mental health leading up to the incident. In the early morning of February 20th, 2015, in Titus County, Texas, Ernie Ibarra and his wife Samantha Walford's home was violently invaded. Samantha's aunt called 911, saying Samantha had been tied up and Ernie kidnapped after being badly beaten. The police found signs of forced entry, but nothing was stolen, which seemed odd. Samantha was very upset and gave a detailed account of what happened, including specific conversations and descriptions, even though she claimed the room was too dark to see well. As police dug deeper, they found inconsistencies in her story, like how she described specific injuries and actions despite the darkness. Suspicion grew when it was discovered that Samantha had access to her phone during the incident, which is unusual for such violent situations. Eventually, it was revealed that Samantha had planned the whole thing, being in frequent contact with the attackers and staging the home invasion.
I'm not gonna care to tell you I'm a loving wife. We've had our build-up.
I'm not saying.
We've had our fight.
And what about the bullet that happened? Were you up close with him when they punched him?
Yes.
Okay, so you think there might be some...
Well, I didn't, inspect for splatter or anything like that. When they jerked me away from him and cut my clothes off, I never touched him
So
again.
it's possible that
So there may be. But is it because I laid my hands on him? No, my hands were tied behind my back. And I'm watching this guy punch him in the face with a over and over.
All involved, including Samantha, were arrested and convicted. Jonathan Sanford and Jose Ponce, who cooperated with the investigation, were each sentenced to 50 years. Octavius Rhymes received a 93-year sentence, and Samantha Walford was sentenced to 99 years for planning her husband's murder. Dennis Nilsen, known as the Muswell Hill Murderer, was a Scottish serial killer who terrorized North London from 1978 to 1983. He ended the lives of at least 12 young men and boys. Though he admitted to up to 15 murders, Nilsen targeted homeless or vulnerable young men, luring them to his home with offers of food, alcohol, or shelter. Nilsen confessed to his crimes and provided detailed accounts of his actions upon his arrest.
They asked me how many there were, and I didn't really know. I just gave them a figure. And because I was cooperating with the police, I decided I'll stick with it. You know. There were three of those victims were invented just to complement the continuity of evidence of the police, because just to keep them happy. On a weekend, I would sort of pull out the floorboards, and I found it totally unpleasant, and get blinding drunk, so I could face it, and start dissection on the kitchen floor. And I'd go out and be sick outside in the garden, haul the body out onto the floorboards, put it on the sheet, and then cut it out. Making myself look, it was nothing to do with itself. It was making myself look as different from me as it was possible to imagine, so that I could really be convincing as being somebody else. But he's now me. He's now my body in the fantasy. The most exciting part of the little conundrum was when I lifted the body, carried it. It was an expression of my power to lift and carry and have control. And the dangling element of limbs was an expression of his passivity.
Yes. So his
these two opposite things. I mean, it was my power and his passivity. The more passive he could be, the more powerful I was. Bodies are all gone. Everything's gone. There is nothing left. But I still feel in a spiritual communion with.
He was convicted of 6 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder and was sentenced to life imprisonment in 1983. Nilsen spent the rest of his life in prison, showing no remorse for his actions and even creating tapes and writings that detailed his crimes. He died in prison in 2018 from natural causes. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can stay updated with our latest videos.